How's it going, everyone? It is Prashan here. We have Cop or Drop. Basically, we're going to talk about the newest card coming to Marvel Snap, and I'm going to let you know if you should save your precious resources or spend them on the latest card, and if it's going to be meta breaking or just meh. And we have Bullseye here. Bullseye is a 3/3 activate, and he basically discards all the cards that cost more or less from your hand, and he afflicts that many different enemy cards with -2 power. So we have Bullseye in the spotlights. We also have Kyera and Marvel Boy. All of these cards are Series 5. Marvel Snap needs to stop making every single card Series 5. Kyera and Marvel Boy basically synergize with each other. In Zudax, you have Kyera that protects all of your 6 cost and 1 drops. She's ongoing 3/4. And you have Marvel Boy that gives 3 of your 1 drops plus 1 at the end of every turn. So I think overall, this is a solid spotlight week. I think if you miss Bullseye and you don't have Kyra or Marvel Boy, I think they're good misses, even though Bullseye always hits his target. So hopefully I could hit him in 1 key, because I've been wasting 4 keys on the new cards. I think some of you saw that Bruce Banner, I wasted 4 keys. And then Moonstone, I spent 4 keys as well. And it doesn't feel good. So I want to give you my honest opinion about this card. So we'll go over some of the targets Bullseye should hit, or you want Bullseye to hit. We'll go over some of the synergies. And then we'll also go over the counters to look out for. And then I'll give you some decks if you get this card on day 1. And then I'll let you know if this card is a cop or drop. So let's go into some of the targets you want to use with Bullseye, since he wants to hit those cards that are 1 or less. And let's get into it. So we have Bullseye targets. We have Scorn, Swarm, X23, and the Mirror Masa Shard. I think these are some of the primary targets where you want to use Bullseye for. X23 is a little bit of copium. You could also, technically, he could hit Wasp and Yellow Jacket, but I think those are cards that you don't want to use. Like, you can use, but you don't want to use. But I think these are some key targets that you want to synergize with Bullseye. So with Scorn, definitely she's good at the end of the game. She gives one of your cards +1, or I believe +2, and then she goes back into your hand. And then if you have another card to discard, if you play Modok and then you have like a Dracula on the board, she goes off again and again, because technically Scorn comes back into your hand. Especially, you could use Activate at the end of the game with Bullseye. And then we have Swarm. You could go crazy with Swarms. You could have as many Swarms in your hand, and at the end of the game, Bullseye is just going to flick all of them on the board and afflict enemy cards on the other side. So you could have as many Swarms as you want and do that damage. You also have X23. I think this is a little bit too far for Copium with X23, but she is a good target, I think. I think X23 is one of those cards that's mainly used in Destroy. She can be used in Discard, but you never see it. And then we have the Mirror Masa Shard. I think Dakin could get some play with Bullseye, especially end of the game, where you really don't want to use your Mirror Masa Shard, or like you have no way of destroying it. So you do have Bullseye to use it at the end of the game to flip the board. So these are some primary targets where you want to use Bullseye. So let's go into some synergies. I feel like Strong Guy, Meek, Morbius, and Dakin are some good synergies. Of course, there's more, but I feel like these are some core ones. Meek could go both ways. Like, Meek could be a card that you get in your hand at the end of the game, and you just want to flick him on the board, but also it's a discard. He gets +1 power for each card discarded. You have Morbius, of course, too. More cards you discard, the bigger and bigger he gets. And then with Dakin, the Mirror Masa Shard, he doubles his power. And then Strong Guy 2, I think sometimes this is Copium 2, but I feel like you're going to discard enough cards where you could have 1 card left in your hand. You just have to be careful with those APOC decks. Like, when you have APOC and Swarm in your deck, I think it's pretty hard to choose between the two, but I would just put Swarm on the board and then let that Dracula eat it up. But I think these are some pretty cool synergies. And then, of course, like, you have cards that feed off the synergy, like secondary synergies, right? But I think these are the main synergies with Bullseye. And of course we have cards like Ajax technically that synergizes well with Bullseye because he afflicts damage on the other side. But are you really going to play Bullseye in a deck with Ajax? I don't think that's going to happen. So honestly and truthfully, I think these are some of the cool synergies that you will have with Bullseye. And then next we have some counters. So of course, whenever there's a new card out, there are plenty of counters, and these are the counters that you may see with Bullseye. So of course, Luke Cage, all the affliction damage that you're doing on the other side, it's not gonna matter. And then you have Red Guardian. Red Guardian is, if Bullseye is just sitting there alone, they can counter him with Red Guardian, and yeah, that's it. And then the fact that Bullseye's activate, he's just sitting there. Like, and typically you're just gonna use him on the final turn. So if you play him on curve on 3, he's sitting and sitting and sitting, and he's a sitting duck waiting for Red Guardian or Lady Deathstrike to come around and destroy it. So these are the counters to look out for once you get Bullseye. I think that's the bad thing with activate cards. You have to play them on the board, and then you have to wait until the following turn to activate the ability. I think if this was like on reveal, this card will be way better because you could just play them, and then you could have cards like Grandmaster do it all over again, or you could Wong it. I think that's why they made it activate. I feel like if it was on reveal, it'll be like a number 2 Gambit, like another Gambit, right? So yes, these are the counters for this deck to be looking out for. And next, this is the deck that I made to day 1 with Bullseye. So we have Scorn, Blade, Mobius, Swarm, Bullseye, Gambit, Moon Knight, Lady Sif, Dracula, Proxima, MODOK, and Apocalypse. So I think this is a pretty safe deck to play on day 1 with Bullseye if you're trying to play Bullseye. And yeah, nothing fancy. Just simple. You discard cards. But the only thing is, like, final turn, you have to make some decisions. I would just play Scorn and play MODOK final turn, especially if you played Dracula already, and then you use Bullseye. Or you could leave Scorn in your hand. I had someone in my chat today said someone raw dogged the Apocalypse, which means that you just play Apocalypse like without the Dracula discard, which I found hilarious. I don't know if you want to do that, but you could try it. Or you could play Bullseye on 3, and then on turn 5, you could probably do like a Bullseye and then you MODOK. You activate Bullseye and then you play MODOK. That way that Scorn goes off a few times. But I think this is a pretty safe deck to play on day 1. And we also have this one too. This one's a little bit different. We have Strong Guy and Dakin in this deck compared to the last deck. I think this is a pretty safe day 1 deck too for Bullseye. I think these are some safe bets that will get you some solid wins. And yeah, that's pretty much it for Bullseye. This is a quick video. I'm not going to take too long. I'm not going to waste your time. And what do you think? Do you think that this is a cop, or do you think this is a drop? My honest opinion is I think this is a drop. I think this only fits in discard. I think it's a complementary piece in discard, but I don't think you should waste your resources on this card. I think there's better cards to come out in the future. I think this might be a flavor of the week thing. I think it's cool to see. It probably have a cool animation. It's Bullseye. But I think this is not meta breaking or meta changing. There was changes to Hela recently in the last patch or OTA. Last OTA, there was a change in Hela. But this isn't really a Hela type of card, especially since you're hitting 1-drops. So overall, I think this is a drop. And if you are saving your resources or if you're low on resources, I think it's fine to skip. You're not going to miss anything. There's not going to be any FOMO. So that is it. That is my honest opinion. Hopefully that helped you out. Hopefully that saves you. And then if I'm wrong in a week or so, come at me at the comments. It's okay. I can be wrong sometimes, but I can be right. So that is it for this video. This is it for Cop or Drop. Till next time, be safe, keep on snapping, and peace.
Snap.